Hey guys, we're recording. Yeah, I didn't go. I did two videos yesterday, but I didn't go live in the afternoon. So I'm doing this one kind of to make up for not going live. This is a video. I'll put it out as a premiere. Yeah, I came across another video. It's about 29 minutes long, so I'm just going to react to it. And it's about 3 years old, and it's about what past people thought the future would be like. So people from the past, what they thought the future would be like. And I remember thinking this as a kid. Like, I remember thinking what the future is going to be like. Absolutely. I remember thinking it'd probably be a bit like Back to the Future 2, flying cars, that type of things, flat screen phones, flat screen TVs, which we have, but you know. But I used to think to myself, what about people like my dad when he was in the past, when he was a kid? What would he think? What did he think the future was going to be like? Was it anything like I thought it was going to be? Or did it turn out to be what he thought it was going to be? You know, stuff like that. So I thought we'd get a go. I'm not subscribed to this channel, but let me just show you. Here it is here. It's called Be Amazed. I'll put the link in the description for you guys. I'm not sub to it at the minute, but I'll actually sub to it now so I can put the link in straight away when I put the description in. But yeah, link will be in the description. So Be Amazed, but it's about 3 years ago. I don't know where it is in here. It'll be in these videos somewhere. But yeah, I've already downloaded it. So oh yeah, I can see what his content's kind of about. So yeah, I'll put his link in. If you want to sub, go for it. Be Amazed. But this video is about 3 years old, and we might as well get to it and have a look at it. So let's get reacting to it. It's just about what past people would think, what they thought the future was going to be like. So, and this video is 3 years old, so it's kind of like past people from the past. What did they think the future was going to be like? Here we go. Anyway, let's just go for it. Let's just go for it. Yeah. So be amazed, be very, very, very amazed, and let's react.
Here's a question. What do you want the future to look like? Personally, I'm hoping for instant teleportation.
Well, personally, I remember thinking it being a bit like, before I seen Back to the Future, or Back to the Future 2, I kind of thought of it like Back to the Future 2, flying cars and stuff like that. I didn't know if it looked like a DeLorean as such, but, you know, in my mind, there'd be flying cars, going to space and all that willy-nilly, just on a whim. Obviously, we know we can't do that now, obviously, but, you know, because there is no space. It's a violation of the second law of thermodynamics. So you can't go to space because there is no space. But that's besides the point. Yes, I thought things like that would be prominent in future, being able to space travel just like that, or flying cars, or I don't know, things that you don't have to use your hands with. You just have to think about. All that kinds of things are coming to fruition with like Elon Musk and that. It's crazy.
Hoverboards and free chocolate.
There it is, hoverboard right there, hoverboard.
For all by 2050. Sounds like a bit of a stretch, I know, but it's nothing compared to what people over 100 years ago thought life would look like today. From robotic...
What would people 100 years ago think the world was going to be like? So 100 years ago from now is 1925. Now that was after the First World War, just before the second, 10 years before the second. You know what I mean? So what did they think it was going to be like?
Helpers and super schools to flying firemen. Some of the predictions are hilarious.
Flying firemen. I would never have thought of a flying fireman with wings and stuff like that. I thought about machines that were going on in my bedroom wall, and they would drop sweeties out of the wall for me. Press a button, and a sweetie would drop out of the wall. That type of thing. That's the kind of things I thought as future.
But others are surprisingly accurate. Well, it's time to separate science facts.
I mean, did people think animals would change, like evolve or something? Humans would change or evolve, you know, that type of thing. because I didn't ever think like humans would look different or behave different or act different, but we certainly are acting different, that's for sure, you know.
From science fiction as we take a look at what people in the past thought we'd be doing today. In the year 2000, France won the European Football Championship and overhauled its prison system. But neither of these made
Year 2000, it's the year my daughter was born, January 2000. And the year 2000 is when I got married and then divorced about 7 years later. But yeah, year 2000 was a break age for me, except my daughter being born. But along that times, that kind of era for me, I was a drug addict on and off for a lot of parts of my life, I suppose.
major events were what French artist Jean-Marc Coté had predicted. That's because Coté was alive more than 100 years earlier, in 1899. In that year, he designed a series of postcards depicting France in the year 2000 for the 1900s.
They're pretty cool as well. Pretty cool, the illustrations and that. I mean, do you think they look futuristic? To me, they don't. Not now. But if I was living back then, would that look futuristic? Hell yeah, probably.
Paris exhibition. At this point in time, Ferris wheels, diesel engines, talking films, and escalators were just anticipated inventions. In Coté's drawings, though, things got a bit more extreme. By 2000, Coté predicted that schools would be using some sort of machine to pump knowledge into the brains of the students. Judging by this postcard,
Well, that hasn't happened yet, but with the Neuralink type thing, is that not really going to come to fruition soon? I don't know. But I mean, that's quite prophetic. That's quite prophetic, maybe.
one student would crank the knowledge machine, which would grind up books.
I mean, different to make it clockwork and powered by books, but still, the idea is there, isn't it?
The information inside them would be magically fed into the minds of their classmates, like some sort of mind-feeding paper shredder. So the school of the 2000s would be a place to kick back, relax, and just absorb information, unless it was your turn to crank the machine. In reality, the closest thing we've developed to knowledge machines—
Yeah, it must be part PE and part science. You crank the machine for the knowledge, and then PE is the working at it, cranking the machine, physical exercise.
are computers and smart boards, and even with them, some subjects can still be tough to get your head around. Once school was out, you'd travel home as usual, but not by school bus, by gigantic seahorse. In the real world, seahorses only grow.
Now, that must have been someone with a vivid imagination. That must have been someone who was 3 to 5 years old. Thinking, yeah, in the future, we'll go home, not by school bus, but by seahorse. Yay! No, that's wishful thinking. I don't think actually people thought that would be the future. Not from a credible mind, you know?
grow up to 14 inches tall, but by 2000, Coté believed they would be 10 times the size, have a strange golden metallic sheen, and be willing to ferry humans around the seabed.
So we'd be maybe traveling by undersea. Well, we travel by sea, and we certainly have submarines and stuff like that, which they would have probably known about back then. But yeah, it's interesting, the ideas that they had, because I would never have thought this.
What did he think would make them grow so huge? Evolution, radiation, perhaps some—
Evolution was bound to play a part in it. Bound to play a part in it when it comes to people's perceptions of the future. Both people evolve differently. Evolution is a lie, guys.
weird human experiments?
We were created by the Lord God, Jesus Christ himself.
Whatever he thought, it looks exciting. But next time I'm crossing the water, I think I'll stick with a boat. Giant golden seahorses won't be the only innovation involving the animal kingdom. Coté also predicted the invention of baby chicken making machines. It looks simple enough. Insert an
Or
egg.
baby chicken making machines, so they're no longer bred. There's machines that make them. But I'll tell you what, when it comes to cloning and that, I mean, they're not far wrong. Just different process of doing things. I suppose they thought differently, but the outcome of what they thought might happen might be very similar of what we think.
Egg into the machine, and 5 minutes later, you've got a live bird walking around the farm. Now, in the 21st century, getting a chicken from an egg to your dinner plate is a process that's helped along by industrial farming. But a chicken-making machine that could speed up the development process, like playing a chicken god? Even by modern science standards, that's clucking insane. What about entertainment in the year 2000? Well, Cote didn't leave that out either. In 1889, most live music meant attending orchestral concerts or theatrical operas. According
Well, the acoustics would have been lovely in there.
to Cote, we'd still be doing that in 2000, except the music would be played by machines. That's right, a robot orchestra rather than a human one.
Again, a lot of music is played by machines, samplers, you know what I mean? The computer, you know, when you have auto-tune, stuff like that. I mean, people could play guitars, people do play instruments, absolutely. But to be a musician nowadays, you don't have to. You can do it through computer or machine. Not far wrong there either, are they?
While we don't have any robots controlling entire armies of instruments yet, we do have electronic music.
There you go.
And, whatever Grimes identifies as these days. So even if we're
Yeah, I agree with him as well. I'm not. I don't know if he's on about a person Grimes or the music grime. I do not like grime.
not going to the robo-opera, Cote still predicted that technology would revolutionize the way we make and listen to music. But then Cote wondered, if robots could be musicians, why not barbers as well? In this image, hairdressers of the two
And it certainly has. I mean, we definitely listen to music differently from how we used to. I mean, when I was a kid, it was tape. You know what I mean? Reel to reel tape sort of thing, a little cassette tape, or a record, vinyl, A-track even, and a bit later on CDs, then mini disc and stuff like that later on. Now digital. It's yeah. So it's changed throughout the age of how we listen to music, the process of it, what we listen to it on, and the format we listen to it on. I mean, now it's all digital. Before it used to be analog, you know.
2000s have been replaced by machines designed to trim and groom people to perfection. Now, I've still got a human barber, but machine grooming isn't as far away as you might imagine. In 2012, Giraffe Technologies completed a prototype multi-arm UGV that, with a shaver attached to it, allowed its user to remotely shave another human's head.
It's still being controlled by a human, though. It's still being controlled by a person. No, yes, it's not them physically doing it, but they're physically putting the commands in for the arm to mimic what a human would do.
While that's impressive, the final look is anything but. It seems like there are some jobs that still need to be done by human hands.
Yes, I think I'd prefer to trust my own barber. Thank you.
Speaking of human hands, be sure to use yours to hit those like and subscribe buttons below, unless you have a robot do it for you.
Like and
All done?
subscribe.
Great. Now, what weird prediction have we got next?
Fleeing
One
fireman.
thing people would rather keep their hands off, however, is cleaning. I know some people enjoy it, but not everyone is a Virgo.
Well, it's true. I mean, you've now got your robotic hoovers that just fly about on their own, just sucking things up, picking up the crap as it just bangs into the scatting boards, goes off in a different direction, cleans the place up. And they were kind of predicted in movies and stuff like that as well. I mean, that's probably where the ideas come from.
Cote imagined people in the 21st century would have found a way to tackle such trivial tasks with machines. ones that'd be able to scrub and polish simultaneously. All you'd have to do is stand there, steering it, pulling it. Either way, that entire contraption looks weirdly terrifying.
Yeah, so if you've got to stand there manipulating it, you may as well do it yourself. This is the thing I was on about right here.
Fortunately, the present day offers only Roombas. While smaller, cuter, and guided automatically by proximity sensors, Roombas can only hoover a floor. But if you're after something as terrifying as Cote's machine, why not stick a knife on your Roomba, like this one?
For goodness sake.
Just imagine the
like Robot Wars. Fight to the death. Finish him.
terror as it scuttles around your house searching for its next victim. Maybe I'll stick to cleaning the floors myself.
Good idea.
Beyond cleaning, travel, and school, Cote also had some expectations of what France's emergency services might look like in 100 years. Instead of using horses and wagons on the ground to put out fires, winged firemen would swoop in to save the...
Which, yes, aesthetically, firemen don't look like that. They haven't got wings on their uniforms. But they do have helicopters and stuff, don't they? So there is flying firemen. Different process, same outcome.
day. That's right, flying firemen. Of course, they're not a reality in the 21st century.
Yeah.
Unless you're in Dubai. In 2016, the Dubai Civil Defense signed a multi-million-dollar contract to bring their fire services to the skies to help quickly tackle situations in high-rise buildings.
There you go. So there is such thing as helicopter firemen and stuff. So flying firemen. See? Not far from the truth.
Sadly, Dubai won't be using the cool butterfly wings depicted by Cote. Instead, they've opted for jet engines that will enable them to reach heights.
Now, I'd love to have one of them just for me to flee about on. That would be excellent. Wouldn't that be cool? Now, this is the type of thing now I did think of when I was younger. I mean, we'd already seen jetpacks and stuff like that from when I was a kid, flying about with gas-powered jetpacks. You know what I mean? So they were already a reality when I was a kid. I'm 48, probably from the 60s, 70s onwards, whatever. But yes, this is a similar idea, but not a jetpack. It's got propeller or whatever, however it's hovering, but it's not like a jetpack, but same idea. The person's sitting in it and they're still outside, controlling the machinery.
Of 3,000 feet at speeds of almost 45 miles per hour. Talk about rapid response. Back in 1900, if you wanted to text someone, you'd have to write down your message, then wait 84 years until the invention of the phone signal.
You might as well just not even bother writing a letter, run round to their house, however many miles it is away, knock on the door and tell them that way.
I'm just kidding. You'd have to send a letter through a physical mailing system. By 2000, though, Cote expected the Postal Service to follow the fire brigade to the skies. Using individual flying devices that look like they've been designed by Da Vinci, letters would be...
Again, not far from the truth. You've got airmail, and mail gets flown across from country to country from airplane, but not direct door service airmail. But yeah, it's kind of accurate in a roundabout way.
And delivered straight to your 3-story balcony. As fun as this looks, today most of our messages take place in the digital world. From email to texting and WhatsApp, it only takes a few seconds and the click of a button to send a message like this anywhere in the world. Oh, pretend you didn't see that. Now, do you think swimming is a tired, old gimmick of the past? Isn't it time we developed a new way to navigate our bodies through liquid? Wouldn't it be much easier if water was just, like, land? Well, in 1900, the year after Cote's predictions, another futurist had the same thought. using balloons filled with a magical substance that both lifts you out of the
Now, I
water.
have thought about things like this as well, like being able to walk in water. How? Like, you can't stand on it, but having a device of some sort, like that guy's sitting in the front there with like a paddle penny farthing bicycle, like one wheeler unicycle thing. I've thought of things like that. I've thought of things like that. But horses on balloons just to be able to walk in water. It's a funny thought. It's a funny thought.
Water, but stops you floating into space. The lakes of today would become the parks of tomorrow. Even horses would be getting in on the fun. While balloon-supported lake walking hasn't made a splash just yet, we do have giant inflatable Zorb balls that allow you to run around on a lake without sinking. That's just for us humans, though. Sorry, horses of the world, but you'll have to wait another 100 years, I guess. Also from the 1900s, the Ladies' Home Journal writer John Elfreth Watkins Jr. had some predictions of his own for the 21st century.
Elfrith. Elfrith. Wow, never heard that name before. That's a bit of a tongue-twisting name. Elfrith.
He starts off well, correctly predicting people will get taller and grow older thanks to science.
Well, that's true. People are getting a little taller. They're getting a little taller, but I do think that we were once a lot taller back when we were first created.
Scientific advancements in healthcare. But he also predicted that by 2001, the letters C, X, and Q would no longer be part of the alphabet, because everyone would be spelling by sound alone. So a cat would be a cat, an X-ray would be an X-ray, and Her Majesty would be the Queen. Man, famous streamer XQC.
Well, there is a few people that actually do text like that and write like that and think it's really cool. So, yeah, a bit of truth to that as well.
Would be out of a name entirely. If
Hi.
you lived in Watkins's American future, how do you think you'd send packages? Through the mail like a 20th century ape? Nope. Instead, Watkins predicted pneumatic tubes would connect the private houses of the wealthy, and then eventually...
Well, they have got pneumatic tubes that take money in supermarkets and places like that, in stores, that take the money from the tills to the back offices to put in the safes or whatever. So those systems do exist, but not for straight delivery to house. Delivery.
all homes. So you'd be able to send packages from home to home without ever leaving your house. As cool and no doubt costly
You
as
can
that
get stuff without having to leave your house. Order it and it gets delivered, but different process again. But that happens. You don't have to actually leave your house. It is good, guys, to leave your house. Actually, it definitely is. Do it sometimes. Touch grass, but you don't have to. That's my point. To get stuff.
would be, today you can order almost anything you want over the internet
Point.
without stepping a single
Point.
foot outside your front door. Although, when you get your package is still something of a mystery, as the current American mailing system usually relies
When you get your package, that's in the US, that's in the UK, that is anywhere. When it comes to postal systems.
on USPS, UPS, or FedEx. Ugh. Considering predictions in the 1900s played with the alphabet, postal service, and travel, what form did people think communication would take? Far from Cote's flying messengers, one artist actually thought up something surprisingly accurate: a retro-futuristic video call device. It's practically a smartphone. When we video call today,
There you go. Now people did think of these things even before when I was a kid. People a lot older than me thought of it when they were kids. I certainly thought of it as a kid, and it certainly came true. That was inevitable. I think the way things have been going since I don't know, the 1900s onwards. Even when you get up to the 80s and see the technology from then onwards, it's like, of course, that was going to happen. It was inevitable. So yeah, that would be quite a common one for people to be able to communicate, especially if they've already communicated by telephone. Then they're going to think that a step up from that would be able to see the person as well as talk to them. You know? So yeah, that's a common one. It's a common one.
Today, we don't have butlers serving lemonade or personal aircraft or matching sky suits, which is disappointing. However, if we fast forward to 1964, picture phones first popped into existence. Just like the 1900s imagining people could talk
That's 64. No, 64. And look at the resolution for 64, that ain't bad.
face-to-face over two screens.
Obviously, it wasn't commercial, and it was only a gimmick, well, a novelty thing at that point. But yeah, because it wasn't widely used. That's for sure. Not in 64.
Though the device wasn't mobile, it was installed in a booth. This invention eventually fueled the development of Skype, FaceTime, and more recently, Zoom, where you can share a face-to-face call with up to 1,000 people at any time. To think, without the amazing imaginings of the 1900s, we might still just be calling people up on the phone like cavemen. Now, if we fast
Could you
forward
imagine that? Calling someone on the phone. Wow. What an idea.
a bit to the 1930s, we can take a look at the predictions of one F.E. Smith, a lawyer and parliamentarian.
Flat Earth Smith? That's a common name nowadays. Nah, only joking.
He was a pretty eccentric guy, and his forecasts for the future were nothing less. Over the course of his life,
Well, that's what the FA means. Fairly eccentric.
Smith had seen cars become widespread in society. With the expected rise of air travel, however, he believed automobiles would be replaced by personal airplanes that were as reliable and cheap as a car. Yes, we do have low-cost air travel in the 2020s, New York to Miami for less than $30, bargain. But we're still quite a way off everyone having their own personal plane.
Well, yeah, true, but there is a lot of people who've got their own personal jets and that with a lot of money. So it's not beyond reason to believe it could happen. I mean, every single person in the world is not going to have one, of course not. But, you know, it's more common than not.
In 2014, there was only one privately owned plane for every 19,500 people on Earth. So that future is more of a distant dream. Okay, get ready for a weird question. Have you ever wondered why we have two eyes? Aside from providing us with a
No, I've wondered why we're alive and what it's all about. At some point in my life, yeah, of course, but never why two. Never why have I got two eyes? Because to me, it's simple. You know what I mean? You've got peripheral vision that way and that way. If you had one in the middle, you'd have peripheral vision, but it wouldn't be as far as a peripheral vision from one either side of your face. No, I've never thought that.
spare should one get damaged. Having two eyes allows us to perceive depth and increases our field of vision. Pretty essential functions,
There
right?
you go. That was my point.
Not
Increases your field of vision. If you had one eye, you'd have peripheral, and it would come out like that. But it wouldn't be the same peripheral as you had one eye here and one eye here, because then the peripheral goes even further. Simple.
according to Dr. Thomas Shosted. This doctor proclaimed in 1934 that, over time, the bridge of the nose would collapse and a super eye would form in the center of all human faces.
Now, I have seen this one before. A lot of people thought in the future that we'd have one yak ball. Now, I don't know why, because that would be worse for your eyesight. I mean, even in evolutionary terms, which I'm not an evolutionist, it's bullshit, but in evolutionary terms, that would be devolution, which is what evolution actually bloody is.
That's right. Shosted expected us to evolve into human cyclopses. He saw
No.
two main benefits of the cycloptic super eye. First, we'd be able to perceive
Okay, so what happens if you get injured in your eye and you can't see out of it? You've got another eye to see out of. But if you have one eye and you get injured and you can't see out of it, you've got no other eyes to see out of. Two eyes better than one. Absolutely, 100%.
forms of energy that were hidden to us. And second, we'd see colors and motion more clearly. Now, before you get too excited, Shashtid expected this to happen in distant centuries, so it's nothing to worry about right now. Having said that,
Oh,
Shashtid
wow.
probably expected our
So glad. I'm so glad. I was worried I was going to start developing a one big blue eye right in the middle there. Terrible. Wow. Don't want none of that. Don't want none of that.
eyes to be a bit closer together by this point in time. So if you do notice your eyes edging towards your nose, I'd just book an appointment with your nearest
If you do see that, then you'll know he was right. You're about to have one eye in a few generations' time.
eye doctor. Wow, in the 1930s, people had some massive expectations about what the future would look like. But what about the 1950s?
Here we
Even though
go.
they were a little more technologically advanced, leading experts in this era had a few wacky ideas. In terms of travel in the 2000s, if it wasn't a Jetsons-style private flying car, then it was zipping across the Earth on rails. It was around
Well, and that's not far from the truth. I mean, that happens. The Unirail, I mean, the fast rocket rail thing, but whatever it's called. All this is happening. I mean, it's not exactly flying high in the sky, but you have it in the US where they're like, I don't know, 30 foot off the ground when they're on raised tracks off the road, you know. So yeah, not far from the truth.
this time magnetic levitation, or maglev technology, was
And there
first
is that going
developed and
about.
patented. The concept proved
I'm sure magnetic maglev, whatever, but it's still about. They still use it.
magnetic propulsion, or linear motion, could transport a vehicle over a track at speeds of up to 310 miles per hour. This amazing breakthrough led scientists to believe that future forms of transport would be maglev mad. But they weren't quite right. While some of the fastest trains in the world, like Japan's bullet trains, do use
That's
maglev technology,
the one I was thinking about. I said the rocket train. I meant bullet train. That's one I was thinking of. Sue me.
the tracks are costly to implement. So costly that Japan is currently on track to spend a staggering $64 billion on just 180 miles of maglev track. So until we find a cheaper way of making maglev available to the masses, the rest of the world is stuck with regular old public transport like buses.
Well, if it gets you from A to B, it's a good thing.
But it wasn't just travel that experts of the 1950s had high hopes for. By 2000, they predicted that the world of entertainment would be on another level. We'd have long turned off our radios and would have switched on our
Which people kind of have. Yes, you go in your car, you put on the radio, and that now and again, people have them on their kitchens. But in general, people used to listen to TV programs. Wow. Drama programs on the radio, sport on the radio, music on the radio. They'd huddle around the radio. Then TV came along, they'd huddle around that, and people would still use radio, but not as much. Now the TV's kind of out the window and it's more computer orientated and it's more online orientated stuff, apps and stuff like that. With radio still in use, but more out the window. So yeah.
dimensional color TVs. Not only would the images look like they were popping out of the screen, but the room would fill with the aroma of what
Which they do that in cinemas, don't they? I don't know about the aroma, but they do the IMAX things and even with computer games, what do you call it? Haptic. I can't remember haptic, whatever. But it's like realistic, feeling the vibrations and stuff like that. But it like in cinemas as well, where they they have it in 3D, as well as like if there's a breeze, they have wind breeze machines blowing through the building, and things touching you by your legs and stuff like that, like little bristles touching you, to try and make it a more sense-based kind of experience. That happens nowadays. It's not like indoors in your house all over the place. Haptic feedback. That's the thing I was thinking of for like computer games and that. You get haptic feedback. That's commercial. That's in your house. But the cinema thing I was on about, that's not. But who knows how long?
Whatever was being shown. Now, 3D TVs were first developed back in
There you go,
1981,
3D.
and even though they hit the mainstream in the 2010s, by 2016, they were just a novelty, and most models stopped being produced.
True.
As far as 4D goes, smell-o-vision, a process by which smells were released into cinemas during the projection of
My point. That being my point.
a film, made its one and only appearance in the 1960 film Scent of Mystery. Unfortunately, some of the smells were released on delay, so they didn't match up with what was on the screen.
So someone farted on the film and they smelt roses. Oh, for goodness sake.
Screens. The mixture of different smells also made people
Mr.
nauseous, and the loud hissing noise the dispersal machine made ruined the experience for many others. After it was written off as something of a failure, we haven't quite conquered this type of 4D
But nowadays, you can make machines without them noises. You make things a lot quieter. It'd be a different experience nowadays. Guaranteed they'll try that again.
future, and I'm not entirely sure we'll ever want to. So, some predictions have been very close to becoming real, but not everyone can be that prescient. One article from Popular Mechanics in 1950 claimed that by the 21st century, sawdust, table linen, and
I
underwear
mean, even that that magazine comic cover I seen right there with the astronauts on it with different colored spacesuits and helmets and that on it, pastel colors and the space in the background. That's the type of thing I thought of as a kid. Just a little more modern than that. That's it. But all through the ages, since people have had the space and space travel and all that, people think of that. They're going to think that's the future. It's understandable, but not reality.
would be recycled through chemical factories to produce food. That's right, a tasty meal made from your dad's recycled underwear. Ugh. Razors would also be a thing of the past, and people would only shave with a specially formulated chemical solution.
Well, people can burn their hair off with this stuff called Nair. That happens. That's for like women's leg hair and that. But if you put it on your face or your head, it's going to do the same thing. But razors are still a thing. So still not far from the truth.
I mean, they weren't entirely wrong. Hair
Well,
removal cream does
you
exist
go.
these days, but anyone who's ever used
I think I've seen this before. I haven't.
it knows that stuff smells worse than a garbage dump that's been set on fire. What about regular household chores, like doing the dishes? Well, in this future
I know. I used to think of like I'd have robots doing them. That's what I used to think.
from the 1950s, dishes are made of a cheap plastic that melts when it meets hot water, so the dishes can be washed right down the drain. And yet here we are in the
biodegradable. What? That's not far from the truth either, is it? I mean, come on.
21st century trying to put less plastic in the ocean because it's already full of this stuff without this insane invention. Okay, what about cleaning the house? Easy, just turn on your trusty hose and wash the house down, because everything you own is now waterproof. That's right, everything.
Right.
Couch,
Right.
waterproof.
I used to think that everything waterproof, or self-drying, or everything fire retardant. That's what I used to think of the future. Yeah, that's it.
TV, waterproof. Children, 100% waterproof. Plus, you have a plug hole as a standard feature in each and every room to drain all the dirt away. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't know anyone in this century who has all their belongings waterproofed, let alone the money to afford the bank.
Don't know. I mean, could you imagine putting all these things through a laminating machine? It needs some machine. But hold on, I don't know. I mean, you could ask Sean for a shot of his 3D printing machine.
Breaking water bill, a method like this would rack up. So far, we've looked at predictions for life hundreds of years in the future. Although, I can't help but think that if these predictions aimed closer to their own time, they might be more accurate. Like 10 years in the future, for instance. Well, a 1960 article published in American Weekly did
Right. So go like 100 or 200 years in the future or something. That'd be interesting.
exactly that. To them, 1970 was going to be a place where secretaries no longer typed, but spoke into their typewriters.
Well, you can do that. You can do that. You can speak in your phone and types whatever you want it to do. Speak to your computer, you can type whatever it wants you to, what you want it to.
Yep, speech recognition technology, a whole 40
Wow.
years before the likes of Siri and Alexa. Amazingly, they weren't far off. By the mid-1980s, IBM had created a voice-activated typewriter called the Tangora, which had a 20,000-word vocabulary. Wow, if they were nearly right about that, what else did American Weekly predict? Well, apparently, the modern 2000 soldier would look like, and I quote, Superman from Mars.
That's something they haven't got right. But there is a lot of the military nowadays, especially the woke lot, the ones who the boy girlies who think they're actually girly boys. You know what I mean? They think they're supermen or supergirls, whatever they want to be called. Hey, it's not up to me. It's not up to me. YouTube admin, it's not up to me.
Sorry, what? Did they expect soldiers to be clad in capes with bright red underwear over their uniforms? This
Why not? Spartans were soldiers, weren't they? And they look like supermen.
might have posed a few problems with missions requiring camouflage. Fortunately, it was just referring to advances made in the gear available
If the military had to look like superhero, then Superman would be the best one to look.
to troops. Apparently, soldiers would be issued with rocket belts that'd enable them to jump rivers, leap to the top of houses, and reach speeds of up to 40 miles an hour. Did people from the 1960s really think 21st century combat would look like panels from a DC comic? Sadly, this sort of advanced military technology doesn't currently exist that we know of. Though I personally wouldn't be
exactly that you know of. Does it exist? Possibly. There's things that exist out there from people we're not meant to know about and know of. Excuse me. And we know it, but we don't know it.
opposed to watching an army of supermen in action.
Nice.
Past Americans were an optimistic, futuristic bunch. But what about other major world superpowers and their predictions of the future? Well, according to a futuristic film strip from the Soviet Union back in the 1960s, a 2017 Soviet Union would be a truly amazing.
Well, he's wearing dungarees. I mean, that's not too bad. I mean, I wore dungarees in the 90s. I wore them hanging down a bit, like one thing up, one strap down, but then a bit flairier. But yeah, a lot of people still wear dungas. So, not far from the truth, maybe. Again, let's hear what else has got to say, though, about 2017, which was now 8 years ago.
Place. The Union's polar regions would be populated with cavernous, under-ice
Oh, polar regions. Oh, yeah, the polar region. Oh, I see.
cities heated by the Earth's natural thermal energy to create an eternally summery climate. There's no word on how they'd get all that
How they were going to do that? No idea. Never thought of that one.
natural light down there, though, which is probably why these cities never materialized. Weather control was another futuristic feature that the Soviets thought they might have a handle on by 2017.
Well, weather control. Do they not do that now? Do they not admit to doing that now? I mean, that's a fact. They do that now.
From a control station in the sky, Soviet officers would be able to pacify hurricanes and destroy storms with the press of a button. It's a really
Don't know about pacifying weather that is naturally developed, but to be able to develop weather, artificial weather, yes. Don't know about pacifying storms or anything, natural storms. Don't know about that, but definitely developing weather synthetically. Absolutely.
neat idea, but sadly, by the time the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, there were no such devices in action. But something did come out of the Soviet Union that would serve as inspiration for
Well, it wasn't a super soldier called Captain America, that's for sure.
technology further down the line. In 1966, Boris Grishin invented a robotic butler that could answer the telephone, control the temperature in his apartment, remind him of important
A cool robotic butler it is. Fantastic. I mean, my idea of the future when I was younger would have been, I mean, to me, this actually does look like a stereotypical view of someone who was older than you use view of the future. That's what it actually does look like that to me, stereotypically.
events, provide the time, date, and even had a radio. It was a truly amazing piece of tech. But at a cumbersome 220 pounds, robotic butlers weren't a
Ooh, a little on the heavy side. But at least he's a heavyweight. If you want to be a boxer, he'd be a heavyweight.
feature of many households until the 2000s. While they don't look like something out of Doctor Who, virtual assistants like Amazon's Alexa and the Google Home Hub are commonplace around the world.
They're helpers in the house. I mean, I know they don't physically do stuff, but if you ask it to put on music, it'll put on music. If you ask it to answer a certain question, it'll put and answer it. It'll ask it time it's on its own, it'll tell you. Ask for information about stuff that's going on in the world, it'll tell you. Whether it's true information or not, I don't know. But you know what I mean? It does it. I don't like them, though. I don't like them.
Using voice command
Vicky loves them. She's got two.
technology, they can do just about everything Boris's bot could do and are just a fraction of the size. Okay, so both the Americans and the Soviets missed the mark in the 1960s on a bunch of levels. However, there's one prediction from the 60s that was so accurate, it's scary: the use of the internet. In 1966, this footage depicting life in 1999 shows off a future home computer console that's a remarkably accurate portrayal of what was to come. It even explains how internet shopping, banking, and
Wow. Wow. No way. But I mean, again, is definitely a natural progression of your mind that you would think that anyway, because of how they got information at the time. Would you not have thought, yeah, well, eventually the whole world's going to be connected by a computer type thing? You know, is it not a natural progression to think that? Possibly.
correspondence would be commonplace, with households owning multiple consoles and computers to fit their lifestyles. That's pretty incredible, considering at this point, it'd be another 13 years before the internet was even born. But can other predictions from 1966 keep those standards up? Well, according to a 1966 Time magazine article, by the year 2000,
1966, the year that England won the Jules Rimet Trophy.
the wheel, one
And they won't let us forget about it.
of mankind's most important inventions would be obsolete. Yes, the wheel. Why wouldn't we use it, I
Really?
hear you ask? Well, travel would no longer be limited to the road because we'd have developed hovercrafts that could fly through the air. So,
Now, this one I definitely thought of, even before Back to the Future 2 came out. I think a lot of us did, because you've seen vehicles, you knew about airplanes, you wanted to be able to fly as a kid. Everybody wants to be able to fly, and dream of it. It's a progression that, that you would think. The progression of the car, I mean, turning into a flying car, or your bike turning into a flying bike in the future is quite natural, I think, to think that. That's what I was trying to get across. Sorry for the stuttering.
no cars, only hover cars. No bikes, only hover bikes. No
See, just what
skateboards.
I was just saying. Hover bike. I just said bikes. Like I used to, when I seen ET and they flew off the bike, I used to think, yes, wouldn't it be great if that would happen? Maybe in the future. That type of thing. It was this. It was this.
Only hoverboards. This sounds like a fun floating future, but I can't help but notice that here in the 2020s, we're still heavily reliant on roads and machines with wheels. Man,
Absolutely. Heavily. But also, we use the air quite a lot and the seas.
that's really brought my expectations back down to earth. But not every 60s prediction assumed wheels would be a thing of the past. Have you heard of the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey?
Just a little bit. It was the first movie of my movie nights that we reviewed, wasn't it? Because the first one we did kind of review rather than just watch. But yeah, we reviewed Space Odyssey 2001, Stanley Kubrick film. Strange movie, boring movie, but interesting because of its boring tedium. Strange use of colours, strange effects, strange voices, stuff like that. It's a surreal movie. But yeah, it's so boring, but interesting in it within that boring tedium.
From 1968, it's one of the best-known films which depicts a future society. The author of the book it was based on, Arthur C. Clarke, had endless predictions for the future up his sleeves,
Now
including
a lot of like movies and stuff like that. If you go to Arthur C. Clarke's books or Asimov and all that, and the type of stuff they used to explain, they used to describe in their books, that's kind of where the ideas come from, like satellites and all that, the Sputnik satellite. I mean, all that kind of things were described in books before they came to reality. They're not sure you if it came from fiction. Maybe there's something untrue about it.
the intriguingly named untethered homes. Clarke believed that, in the future, our homes would be able to move wherever we wanted them to. Not a mobile home or an RV, but an entire house, complete with its own power and water supply, which could be wheeled to another location with ease.
They do that? Yes, they can. Yes, they can.
Communities would use this functionality to migrate south for the winter and return north when the weather got warmer, like geese, but the size of houses with wheels. It sounds funny, but Clarke wasn't.
There's not full blocks of neighborhoods moving to different parts of the world, but you can get movable houses, mobile houses. You can flat pack houses. You can build up, bring back down, and move away, or you can move a mobile house, still erected.
Too far off. The recent tiny home craze
There you
sweeping the
go.
Western world
And small homes on wheels. Look, you can move them back, can't you? They're mobile, they're portable.
has seen people sacrificing space for the ability to shift their home wherever and whenever they want.
Actually.
Although not everyone thought houses would be made to move. This architectural vision created by James Wines back in 1981, called high-rise homes, predicted the eventual
high-rise homes, which we have got, but with gardens and that in it. I mean, we've got little balcony. You can have little balconies with little pots and all that in there. A little bit of tiny bit of soil with some flowers and that. But full gardens and that, I suppose we haven't seen that yet. But will it be long? Probably not.
use of high-rise, open-plan buildings as housing, with typical suburban neighborhoods reimagined in a Jenga-like design. Now compare that image to this real-life building in Milan, Italy, known as the
Oh, wow.
Bosco Verticale.
Wow, that exists. Again, but it's not like full gardens and that. It's like trees, bushes, not growing out at us, like from a single balcony point, from loads of single points actually, but not like full gardens. But that's very interesting. Wow. Bosco Verticale. Wow, that's ace, man. That's so cool.
Which means vertical forest in Italian.
Vertical
It's been
forest.
around since 2014.
Wow.
The building is completely self-sufficient, running off renewable energy, solar panels, and filtered water waste. While it's not a high-rise comprised of individual houses, the Bosco Verticale is an interesting, modern, and especially green spin on James's design. Now let's jump forward to 1988. What did 80s kids
Oh, 98. Ooh.
think 2013 would look like? Well, one article in the Los Angeles Times magazine had some eerily accurate predictions. By
In
2013,
1988, I was 12. I'd already seen Back to the Future. So I'd already got about preconceived ideas of it, of the future.
there'd be injections for younger-looking skin, funny animations,
Ooh, how accurate is that then? Injections for younger looking skin. Whoa.
sent via email, fiber optics connecting computers all over the world,
No. I mean, that doesn't happen, does it? Tell you what.
and on-demand music and movies from the comfort of your own home. Today, we can match that up to collagen injections, GIFs, the internet, and streaming services.
Absolutely.
That's a pretty perfect set of
100%.
predictions. Still, there's one more 80s innovation that we've really adopted in the 21st century, and that's the world of virtual reality, also known as VR.
And they've been talking about VR for a long time as well, haven't they? I mean, even to the point in the early 90s, Lawnmower Man, or was it late 80s? Lawnmower Man movie. Virtual reality, that was virtual reality talking about before that. Now look at it. It's gone. You can go to church in virtual reality. It's crazy.
In the 1980s, NASA heavily championed VR with helmet-mounted displays, power gloves, 3D sights, and sounds that were supposed to make immersive environments a new frontier. But sadly, it didn't happen because the technology wasn't mature enough. The helmets and their optics were too heavy, the computers were too slow.
Yeah, like the ones they started doing for commercial use. And now they're getting lighter and lighter.
And the touch feedback systems
To the point of Neuralink, where you don't even need a visor. You can now just think it.
rarely worked. The only thing that was consistently real about VR was the motion sickness. Fast forward to the modern day, though, with computers that are thousands of times faster than their 80s counterparts, and the applications of VR are endless. While NASA now use VR environments so detailed they can help train astronauts for space shuttle missions, it's used by the rest of the world for, let's say escapism. Whether it's playing video games, virtually visiting a different house, or even just
escapism, not just that, but I think there's a lot of people use it for not so nice reasons.
watching TV, I don't think this is what NASA hoped we'd be using their new frontier of technology for. Man, the predictions of the past had some pretty high hopes for us. But do you have any predictions for what might happen?
There we go. There we go. Again, guys, the guy's link is in his own page, but I will put his link in in the description. This is the guy's page here. So yeah, I'll get the link and I will get this out as a premiere as soon as possible. And I will put his link in the description in case you want to subscribe to him. This video was from 3 years ago. But yeah, one day he still does things up to date and that. He's got lots anyway. I mean, he's got 13.1 million subscribers. But if you want to sub, go for it. Go for it. There's his page there. Yeah, I'll put a link in the description, guys. But yeah, that was quite an interesting video. It's quite an interesting video because I've often thought of things like that, especially when I was younger, and I used to think of the future. And then I think of my dad, and I used to think, well, I wonder if the future turned out for him how we thought it would. You know? Oh wow, just look at the time. It's 3:33 in the morning. Wow. And that was an hour on the dot. I just finished that. It's an hour video, it says. Anyway, I'll get this out as quick as I can. It's a premiere. So bless you guys. Thank you for watching again. I always love doing these videos for you, even though I don't get billions, obviously. A lot of views on them. I get more views in my lives, but I still like doing these things. I still like doing them. So I'll get out as quick as possible. Bless you. Here the Sunset's free. It's free. Indeed. Ta-ta.